أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد بن عبد الله وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الأرجاس وطهرهم من الأدناس وجعل مودتهم أجرا على الناس لا سيما على بقية الله في الأرضين الإمام المنتظر صاحب الزمان عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف ابن هداة المهديين وعلى صحبهم الأخيار المنتجبين وعلى جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين والشهداء والمجاهدين في سبيل الله منذ آدم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد قال الله عز وجل في القرآن الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Allah says in the Quran, and we, talking about Allah, we are closer to Him, talking about man, we are closer to Him than His own jugular vein. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before we continue with our discourses, just to very quickly recap what we've discussed so far in brief. We discussed yesterday about emptying the heart of all else other than Allah, and we gave that example of the suitcase in which we put everything which is important to us. That suitcase will not go anywhere if it is full. The suitcase or the heart which will travel to Allah will be that one which is empty of all else. The question might arise, therefore, what about love for my family? Does that mean I do not love them because I should only place in my heart the love of Allah? Of course not, but it is with the recognition that when I love my wife, and I love my children, and I love my friends, and I love my brothers, I love them because Allah has provided them for me. Even the food I eat, I love it. The wealth I have, I love it in recognition that it is Allah's sustenance. And therefore it is not love of that thing contending with the love of Allah. No, it is complementary because it is in fact the love of Allah itself. If I love the food I eat, I love my body, this physical body of mine, I love it in the recognition that Allah has provided me with this in order to serve Him with it. So those two things will not be contradictory. The contradictory part might arise if I love, or remember it's not about love only, it's about reliance. Yesterday our discussion was about the issue of tawakkul or reliance. I know when I fall in hard times, I can rely on my job and my career. When that love contends with the love of Allah, or when that reliance contends with reliance upon Allah, it might arise, for example, in someone's work, and his boss, or in his line of work, he is instructed to transport alcohol, perhaps, intoxicating alcohol to sell from one place to another place. And he says, you know, I have to do this because if I don't, how will I put food on the table for my family? I rely on this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies to this attitude in the Quran in Surah Al-Isra. Do you think it is me? Do you think it is you who feeds yourself and feeds your family? Allah says, we don't recognize. Allah says, نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُهُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ. It is we, Allah says, who are providing for your family and providing for you. It is not you who is providing, not you who is working and putting food on the table for your family. We also spoke about hardships and tribulations and how these challenges are a way or a method of growth to Allah, opportunity for growth. It is only if you realize sometimes that when we are in these hardships, we turn to Allah. We turn to and we speak to those who are closest to us, obviously. Someone who I don't know on the other side of the world, I never speak to him or her. I don't recognize them, I don't know them, they're not close to me. So if I take a log of those who are close to me, if I make today's log, and I count my moments of today, who have I spoken to today? Perhaps my wife, so spouse, you can say wife or husband. Perhaps siblings, brother, sister, say, oh, get out of the bathroom, I need the bathroom, and all these things that we say to my family members, my boss, colleagues at work. So I can list everyone who I've spoken, and I've spoken to those more, perhaps those who I am closer to. they would take up more of my time in the day and I would have spoken to them more. In that way, if I realize and ask myself the question, when or how much or in how much time, what duration or how frequently today did I speak with Allah? If I think my wife is close to me, so I speak to her more, my colleagues are close, my boss is close, my friends are close, I spoke to them today. Allah says in that verse we just mentioned now and recited, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. We are closer to man than his own jugular vein. But today, if I look at my log of speech, how much of that speech was to Allah? We can say, oh, we have. When did we? Just now after Salah we done dua, and in the morning I done dua, and this time I done dua, and several times a day. Really? Is that speaking to Allah? When I am opening a book and reading something, dua, the word dua in Arabic doesn't mean open a book and read. Or doesn't mean recite, doesn't even mean recitation. Dua means to call. Did I call on him? Was I really speaking to him? When I was opening the book and reading, and actually I didn't even understand what I was saying. If one of our siblings or your spouse or came to you with a book from a famous author, stood in front of you and started reading the book, and then she went to the market, and then she did this and then, would you say this individual is talking to you, or are they reading a book? They're reading a book. Well, I am often doing this. I'm taking the book from the shelf and I'm reading it. This is not speaking to Allah. In fact, all of our actions, not only dua, my fasting, my prayer, my dua, my hajj, all of these things, the criteria which makes them an action which is deserving of Allah's attention is not my lips moving. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a narration that we'll mention again in the coming nights, a number of times perhaps, it says, "Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum." Indeed, Allah is not looking at, not perceiving your physical self. Your soul means your physical body, your lips and your hands, even giving charity. Allah is not looking at that hand going, Allah is looking for something more. What is Allah looking at then? The criteria is not how my body moves. Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum, walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum. But Allah is looking at your hearts. How much is the heart engaged in this act of fasting? How much is this person's heart engaged in this prayer? That's the prayer. Allah's not looking for the bowing and the standing only. This how much the heart is engaged in that. In the dua, if my lips are moving and my hands are holding the book and my lips are moving and my tongue is articulating a few words in Arabic, that doesn't make it dua. Dua is a call to Allah. How much time in this day did I spend calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who says He is closer to us than our own jugular veins. In fact, Allah is closer to me than my boss, my colleagues, yes. My siblings, yes. My children, yes, of course. My wife, yes. No, beyond this. What does Allah say about His interaction with man in the Quran? In the Quran, Allah says, وَاعْلَمُوا, and you should know, أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ, indeed Allah moves and intertwines. Where? بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ, between a man and his wife. Yes, Allah is there. A man and his brother. Yes, Allah is there. A man and his colleague. Allah is there. No. وَاعْلَمُوا, and know, أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Allah intervenes between man and his own heart. Means Allah is closer to me than wife, brother, sister. Oh, Allah is closer to me than me. But He is the one I speak to least in the day. Even when I speak to Him, it is my lips moving. There is no speaking really going on to Him. But He is closer to me than anyone else. How close? That Musa alayhi salam is once, in the ahadith we have, is once he wanted to talk to Allah. He wanted to speak to Allah. So he called out to Allah. He says, "Oh my Allah, Ya Allah, أَقَرِيبٌ أَنْتَ مِنِّي فَأُنَاجِيكَ." Oh my Allah, Are you very close to me that I should whisper to you فَأُنَاجِيكَ أَمْ بَعِيدٌ فَأُنَادِيكَ? Or are you very far that I should call out to you with a loud voice? And at that time the hadith says, Allah replied or revealed to Musa, Ya Musa, Ana jalisu man zakarani. Musa, I am sitting very close. I'm the sitting companion with the one who remembers me. So the way you're sitting with each other now, even more squashed. You know, Jalis is someone who sits with you. Jalis is someone who sits very intimately, a very affectionate, sociable fashion. The one, Allah tells Musa, the one who remembers me, I'm sitting that close to him. But you know, the problem is, Shaykh, I don't know Arabic. So how do I... Well, who said Allah is restricted to Arabic? Allah is the God of Arabic and English and Farsi and all of the languages. Allah is not restricted to any language or any accent. Even the weird United States accent, He'll understand you here. Any time, any language, any accent, anything, Allah is waiting. My servant should talk to me. But I don't speak to him in any language, even in my mind, even that communication with Allah. But that is the biggest weapon we have. As the Prophet ﷺ tells his companions, asks them, Ala adullukum, should I not show you? Should I show you a way that what? Ala silahin, should I show you a weapon? Not only something, should I show you a weapon with what? Yunjikum min a'da'ikum. This weapon is going to save you from your enemies. And it's going to bring down yourselves. It's a weapon. Prophet describes this thing, which he's going to introduce to his companions now, as a weapon. The companions will be like, Bala! Oh, Prophet, tell us, please. Yes, sure, tell us. What is this thing? What is this weapon? The weapon is tad'una rabbakum. That you, not that you open a book and read to your God. That's not what he said. Tad'una rabbakum. That you call out to your Lord. When? Bil-layli wan-nahar. Night and day. You know, in English we have the expression, he was doing this. Day and night he does this. Prophet didn't say day and night. Prophet said night and day. In Islam, we will see coming now, the night has a special preference over the day also. So, Prophet says, this weapon is that تَدْعُونَ رَبَّكُمْ, call out to your Lord, night and day. فَإِنَّ سِلَاحَ الْمُؤْمِنِ الدُّعَاء. For indeed, the weapon of the believer that he has in his hands is not dua that we understand it by book, but it is calling, the call to his Lord. So dua, as we said, doesn't mean singing. Dua doesn't mean opening and reciting a few lines. As we mentioned yesterday and the day before, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he came out on that day of Arafah, on the plains of Arafah, in that superb dua that we have written from him, he didn't come out of his tent and open a book and start reciting. No, dua Kumail was not Amir al-Mu'mineen opening any books. It was a speech between the lover and his beloved Lord. And so that dua is that, even what we mentioned now. What did we mention just now? The dua is not just speaking. Dua is what you do when you are desperate. Dua doesn't mean, oh Allah, give me this, oh Allah, give me that, oh Allah, give me this, oh Allah, house, oh Allah, wealth. That's not dua. That's not the heart interacting with anything. Dua means the heart is desperately engaged now. The heart is desperate. This is the dua Allah is listening to. Even if nothing comes out of the mouth, when the heart is desperate, Allah is listening to that. What did we say just now? Let us pray for those who are suffering on the East Coast and through the bad weather and the hurricane and the storm and all that. And for all those who are sick. And what are we saying? This is a verse from the Quran. This verse from the Quran, if we understand it, is actually a question. It's a question. The verse is a question. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ. The question is, Man yujib. Who will, Allah is asking a rhetorical question in the Quran. It's for us to answer the question. So we're asking it back to Allah, and this way we're asking back to Allah the rhetorical question. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ? Who will respond to the muhtar? Muhtar means the desperate person. Once we recite this verse, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ إِذَا دَعَوْا, if we recite and our heart is not desperate, that is not an instance of that verse at all. Allah is asking the Quran, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ? Who will respond? Who is it that responds to the desperate? إِذَا دَعَاهُ, when he calls unto him, وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ, and he removes the difficulty from that desperate person. So what we are doing in this supplication, we're just asking a question to Allah. Allah, remember you asked this question, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ? I'm muhtar now, Allah. I'm desperate. Are you going to respond to me? This is what the dua means, that we don't even really realize how we're supposed to be interacting with Allah through this one verse of the Quran. Allah is not looking at the lips moving. Allah is looking at the desperate heart. Allah is not looking at إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ صُوَرِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ. But He is looking at your engagement of your heart. How is the heart changing through this? Is it desperate? Is it recognizing my majesty? Is it recognizing its neediness of me? Is it recognizing the appreciation of me? Is this dua or is this reading? So what should I ask for? Let's say I'm desperate now. I want the heart to be engaged. Of course I should ask for all those things I need. What do I need? I need a career. I need a house. I need wealth. I need this. I even need spiritual things. I need ability to pray. Yes, we need all of these things. But the implication of me saying I need these things that I've listed, health and means that there's other things I don't need from Allah. I can do them by myself. Prophet says no. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam says, لِيَسْأَلْ أَحَدُكُمْ رَبَّهُ حَاجَةً. Let every one of you ask his Lord, يَسْأَلْ رَبَّهُ حَاجَةً. Let him ask his Lord for his haja. So when I hear this word haja, big things, wealth and that's haja. No, you don't realize what you need. The Prophet says, حَتَّى يَسْأَلُهُ الْمِلْحِ. The grain of salt in your food. What do I do when the food is there in front of me and I need salt? Of course, I just get up, go to the cupboard, get the salt shaker and put it on. No! Prophet says, even the salt in his food, let him ask his Lord for that. Because that is recognition that even for this grain of salt, I need Allah. I need Him. I need Him. It is a recognition of this need. It is a recognition of this complete destitution in front of Allah. Allah is looking for that. The Prophet says, so let every one of you ask his Lord for his need, his haja. Even let him ask for the salt. حَتَّى يَسْأَلُهُ الْمِلْحِ وَحَتَّى يَسْأَلَهُ الشِّسْعَ. And in even the broken sandal strap or broken shoelace, what do I do when the shoelace breaks in my shoe? I go to the store and I buy another shoelace. No, talk to Allah. Prophet says, talk to Allah. Even this thing, talk to Allah. Means what? Means when I wake up in the morning, speak to Allah. Allah, today I need this. I need air to breathe. I need food to eat. I need this from you, Allah. Allah, I need this day to go well. When I get on the bus, Allah, you allowed me to ride this bus. I'm on the way to work. You gave me this. Allah, let today go well. This misunderstanding I have with my sibling, Allah, you know how to solve it. Help me to, Allah, constantly. A couple of days ago, one of the community members asked, how do we improve concentration in the prayer? How do we do that? And I just gave the reply that was given by one of our scholars. Ayatollah Sayyid Kamal al-Haydari, who is in Qum just now, many years ago, he was asked this question. How do we improve concentration and our presence in the prayer? He replied, the human being is not a machine that you switch off and you switch on. Now is concentration on Allah mode, and now we're out of prayer, so switch it back. No. The more we are engaged in communication with Allah outside of prayer, when it comes to prayer, it's much easier to have that a bit more focus. Because as it is outside of prayer, we are constantly engaged with Allah. Not that we don't speak to Allah the whole day. It's about my bank account and my scholarship and my university and my this and my... And when I come to prayer, now I need to put it in Allah mode. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The human heart does not work this way. We need to be in constant communication with Allah. Constant dua. Dua is the desperate heart calling out. It is the scream of the heart. Even you and I maybe cannot hear the scream. But when the heart is desperate and the tear drops from the eye, Allah hears that scream louder than anything. That is dua which pierces the skies and reaches the Lord. Not me reading from a book. The heart must be desperate. For example, let's say for example I walk out of this center and God forbid, may Allah protect us all, I'm trying to cross the road to get, and I'm not concentrating on my phone to send that last tweet that I need to do before. And I cross the road and I'm not looking, and a car comes at speed and it hits me fast. And I'm flung onto the windshield and the windshield smashes and I'm in the air and I come down on the ground with a thud. And I'm bleeding from nose and lip. Maybe a couple of ribs broken or bruised. Legs hurt badly. I'm in a desperate state. Tell me at this point, I'm not in a position, in shock, complete shock and pain. I don't realize what's just happened. I need help. What will I cry out? Will I cry, oh Allah help me? I'm in shock, this thing won't come out. I can't say, brothers from the IMAN center, where are you? No, these words won't come out. I need help, but I can't even say help. Even this word, I cannot put together the word. What am I going to do when I need help in this desperately shocked situation? When that's true desperation. All that's going to come out of my mouth is, that's all. That's all. That's the scream that Allah is looking for. How so? We have one anecdote from our holy Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, our sixth holy Imam. His companion Yahya al-Khuza'i is narrating this incident. So Yahya says, دخلت مع أبي عبد الله عليه السلام على بعض مواليه يعوده. And I entered with Abu Abdullah as-Sadiq alayhi salam, Imam as-Sadiq, I entered with him because he was visiting one of his companions who was very ill. He was in the throes of death. He was in immense pain. He was very ill. Imam was visiting him. Yahya says, I accompanied Imam to visit him. فرأيت, Yahya is still narrating, فرأيت الرجل يكثر من قولي I saw this man lying there, a very sick man, and he kept on, he was in desperate pain. He was in desperate pain, he was going to die. He kept saying, that's all he could say, he was saying this. So Yahya thought, you know what, let me give this brother some advice. So he said, فقلت له, Yahya is saying, يا أخي, oh my brother, Yahya is giving advice to this very person who's in desperate pain, very sick person. يا أخي, واذكر ربك واستغث به. Rather than just saying, remember your Lord and ask Him for help. It's better for you. Yahya says, when I said this, فقال أبو عبد الله عليه السلام. At this point, Imam as-Sadiq interjected. So this man is lying there saying, in desperate pain. Yahya says, brother, instead of saying, remember your Lord, mention your Lord and call out to Him, ask Him for help. He said, at this point, Imam as-Sadiq interjected and interrupted, and he said, Inna ismun min asma'illah. This desperate cry is a name from amongst the names of Allah. With the 99 names of Allah, I don't see this name, say Rahman, Rahim, Salam, Mu'min, to the bottom. I don't see any No. Imam means that the desperate heart, when it calls this is a name of Allah. This is what Allah listens to. Allah is waiting for that desperation. It means the heart is involved. Not Allahumma inni as'aluka mujibati rahmatik. That is not dua. That is not a desperate heart. But when I am desperate, when I have a family problem, when I have a financial issue, when my health is ailing, when I have a problem that I'm desperate, I can't get out of this, and I go into this, I'm frustrated with myself, I don't know which to turn, right or left, and it's so that that's clear. This is what Allah is looking for. This is the movement of the heart calling. This is dua. So Imam says, Inna ismun min asma'illah. فَمَنْ قَالَ So whoever says in this desperate way, استغاث بربه عز وجل. He has asked Allah indeed for true help. This is dua. So I'm not saying let's not recite dua kumail and dua this and dua that. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when we do read these words, the heart should be engaged. The heart should recognize its desperate need of Allah. That makes that, even if it's words on a paper which I'm reading, that makes it dua. Whilst I don't feel that desperation in the heart, it is not dua. It is just reading. Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum. Allah is not looking at your physical form. وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ. Allah is looking at your heart, whether it is engaged or not. And who is this? Who is this we are? Imagine this Allah who has given me mother, father, health, air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat. Imagine if all of these things He has given me out of His rahmah, as we mentioned a couple of nights ago, He had not given me the ability to ask from Him. Imagine that. You say Sulaiman was so great because he could speak to jinn and birds and the creation and animals. That's nothing Sulaiman. The one who can speak to his Lord has a greater power. But our hearts need to be engaged. Of course, Sulaiman also spoke to Allah through his heart. But we need to have this engagement. But who is this Lord who has allowed me? Let's look at the advice of one ma'soom to another ma'soom. Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam is speaking to his son, Al-Hasan alayhi salam. What does he say? He says, one ma'soom is giving advice and speaking to his son, ma'soom. I'lam, know, أن الذي بيده خزائن ملكوت الدنيا والآخرة. Know that He who has in His hands the treasures, not of dunya and akhirah. Imagine if we knew some celebrity came in who we knew had utmost wealth. The wealthiest man in the world was sitting next to him. We would straight away tell him and say, you know what, there's this project I have on, I need some help, and my fees are this much. We would try to get something. No, it's not the world's wealthiest individual. It is he who has in his hands the treasures of all of dunya and akhirah. Amirul Mu'minin says to his son, know that he i'lam anna alladhi biyadihi khaza'inu malakut ad-dunya wal-akhirah qad adhina lidu'a'ik. He has allowed you to call him. Wow. If we had Bill Gates' number or one of these other Amazon, I think Amazon head is now the richest guy in the world, right? I can't remember what his name is. If we had his number, we would be on the phone. What's happening? Come on, man, I need this guy. Allah has allowed us to speak to Him, to call Him. He gave me His number already. I have His number. Anytime, any place. Not only He allowed me, when that Amazon guy or someone you mentioned, he gave me his number, but he doesn't guarantee that he'll respond. He just, okay, here's my card, take my card. And he tells the secretary, if this guy calls, just don't respond, right? Yeah. Allah is not this. Allah gave me His calling card, and Amir Mu'min says to his son, وَتَكَفَّلَ لِإِجَابَتِكَ, and He guaranteed He's gonna respond. No human being, no richest man in the world, the individual, Allah, the one who has the treasures of dunya and akhirah, allowed me to call Him and guaranteed that He is going to respond. وَأَمَرَكَ أَن تَسْأَلَهُ لِيُعْطِيَكَ, and He commanded you, Amir al-Mu'minin is telling his son Hassan, He commanded you to ask Him so that He should grant you. وَهُوَ رَحِيمٌ كَرِيمٌ, and He is Rahim, the one who has Rahmah. I'm not going to translate it as merciful, it's more far beyond merciful. And He is Kareem, He's all generous. ثُمَّ, thereafter He's talking to his son, ثُمَّ جَعَلَ فِي يَدِكَ مَفَاتِيحَ خَزَائِنِهِ, then He placed in your hands, O Hassan, He placed in your hands the keys to His treasures. بِمَا أَذِنَ فِيهِ مِن مَسْأَلَتِهِ, as He allowed you to ask Him, this is the key. Imagine working in Bank of America just as a clerk, but the owner of the bank comes to you and says, you know what, here's the keys to the vault, it's in your hands. You would think just there. The one who has the keys of the heavens and the earth is giving us that keys in our hands. فَمَتَى شِئْتَ, Amir al-Mu'minin says, so whenever you wish, استفتحت بالدعاء أبواب خزائنه. Whenever you wish, not night, not day, not riding on the bus or say, no, dua is after I pray and then I do dua. No, dua is any time, any place, anywhere, any language. You have the keys in your hand to open the treasure troves of heaven and earth. And Allah has guaranteed a response to that. We mentioned that hadith that the Prophet said that you should ask your Lord not day and night. He said night and day. Night time. You know, daytime we are awake, we're doing everything we can, we're on the bus, nothing else to do. Let's speak to Allah, no problem. Night time is when everyone is asleep. But people who love one another come together in the night time. When the whole world is asleep and you can hear the pin drop, that time is when Allah is looking, will my servant come to me now? That the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he says, Inna al-abd, indeed the servant, that's you and I, Inna al-abd, إِذَا تَخَلَّى بِسَيِّدِهِ, if he surrenders himself, opens himself up to his master. When? Not at night, no. فِي جَوْفِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ, in the heart of the dark night. Means in the most, when your eyes are sleepiest, the most difficult time to stay awake in the night, that time. The darkest part of the night, that time. That's the best time. If he surrenders himself to his master, at that time, the heart of the dark night, وَنَاجَاهُ, and he whispers to him. Imagine that time with Allah. Nothing to distract, no other thought, just whispering to Allah. If he does that, the Prophet says, أَثْبَتَ اللَّهُ النُّورَ فِي قَلْبِهِ, Allah establishes a light in the heart of this individual. No, the hadith goes on. Hadith goes on. You know, here, this part of the world, and in all parts of the world, is difficult. Every year, once a year, the season that just went, once a year, we have opportunity to spend thousands of dollars and then travel thousands of miles to go around that black cube and tell Allah, Allah, I'm here, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. That opportunity comes at a big cost, yes? Huge financial cost. Thousands of dollars, it's hard to travel thousands of miles, go there, once a year only this opportunity arises, to go in a certain place on the earth and say to Allah, Allah, I'm here, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. The Hajj season is the only time. Or if you want to go to Umrah, still travel, costs a lot of money, and you have to travel all the way there. But every night, the Prophet is saying, there's an opportunity. The one who whispers to his Lord, Allah establishes a light in his heart, and at this whispering time, the Prophet says, وَإِذَا قَالَ يَا رَبِّي يَا رَبِّ, at this time, if nothing, not if he recites the whole dua or the many pages, nothing. If he just calls out, Ya Rabbi, oh my Lord, at this whispering time, Nadahul Jalil, the all majestic calls to him, not he calls to his Lord, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, no. The majestic one calls to him and says, Labbaika Abdi, my servant, I am here for you. Salli u'atik, ask me now, I'll grant you. Once a year, we had the opportunity to spend so much money and travel so far to say, oh Allah, I'm here. Every night we have the opportunity that Allah will call me and say, Muhammad, I'm here for you. Ask me, I shall grant you. Every night this opportunity arises. The question might arise then. Lastly, before we finish off, why? What is the point of dua? Really, what's the point? It doesn't make sense. Because, as for those who were in the Jum'ah prayer today, you will have heard, we know Allah knows me better than I know myself. He created me. As much as I know myself, Allah knows me better. So whatever's good for me, He already knows. So I don't need to ask Him, oh Allah, give me what's good, because that means He already knows what's good. 1. 2, Allah has far more power over me than I have over myself. It's not as if my dua is going to unlock. Now He has, phew, I was waiting for that ability to grant you, now I can grant you. No, He has the ability. My dua is not going to do anything for Him so that He can grant me. 1, He knows what's good for me more than I know. 2, He can give me, He has the power to give me more than I have power over myself. And 3, governing these 2, He loves me more than my mother loves me, no, more than even I love myself. So if I want something for me, surely Allah desires it more for me if it's for my betterment. So what's the point of the dua anyway? What's the dua doing then? I don't need for Allah to give. He loves me more, He should give me. He has the power to give me, He should give me. He knows what to give me, He should give me. What's the point of the dua? Then the dua is doing nothing to unlock His ability to give. Let's take an analogy. There is a grandfather, old man grandfather, and he has a young grandson. And now the grandfather loves that grandson. Yes? The grandfather loves the grandson. Oh, he's cute. But the grandson, he sees the grandfather, I thought, this old man, what do I do with him? He doesn't want to talk to him, doesn't want to be near him. The grandfather is the one who wants to be near the grandchild. So what is the grandfather? Grandfathers, by the way, are very... They know what to do. They don't say, oh, grandson, come to me, come. No, the grandson's not going to come. What does he do? He pulls candy out of his pocket, yes? And then we parents have to pay the dentist costs. But anyway, he pulls candy and what does the grandchild do? The grandchild comes running for the candy. He wants it. He wants the candy. The grandfather doesn't give him the candy. No. He'll put it behind his back, so the grandson will run behind, and he'll put it over his head, and he'll climb his shoulders, and put it in his pocket, and then he's laughing, and whatever. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, then he gives him the candy. So he played with him, and then he gave him the candy. Next day, and grandfather comes again, and he brings candy. And the grandson, he says, hey, candy, grandson comes running, and he hides it, and he plays with him, and then after a few minutes, he gives him the candy. 3rd day, same. 4th day, 5th day, 7th day, 10th day. After a few days, the grandfather says, here's the candy, come here, I'll give it to you. But let me tell you a story. You know, back in the day when I was in Karachi or whatever, grew up, when I was in East Africa, or when I was in Baghdad, we used to do this, and we went on an adventure. Let me tell you about this adventure. And he tells him the story about his adventure, and then the grandchild, yeah, but how did you build the boat to go there? And he asks him, afterwards he gives him the candy, the grandchild goes. Next day the grandfather comes back with the candy. He says, hey, come. Grandson comes, let me tell you a story. Once we were here, and he tells him another story, and the grandchild asks about, what about this one? And then he gives him the candy, and he goes. This carries on for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And then a day comes when the grandfather puts the key in the lock and the grandson just hears the key and he comes rushing. He's no longer rushing for the candy. He wants the story, he wants the company, he wants to hear, he wants to ask, he wants to talk to. Now the grandfather has built that rapport. Yes? Allah is saying, I can give you the candy if you want. I don't need your dua. I want you to come and speak to me. He is bribing us. Muhammad asked me, you want to get married? Here. You want wealth? Here. You want a house? Here. You want children? Ask me. Come and ask me. Come and ask me. Come and ask me. Do we not say in dua after, إِنَّكَ تَدْعُونِي فَأُوَلِّ عَنْكَ? It is Allah, you who are calling out to me. Me who is turning away from you. It is me who is the grandchild. Not wanting the grandfather. Grandfather is yearning for the company of the grandchild. Allah is waiting, Muhammad, come back to me. Speak to me. Build that relationship with me. You want whatever you want, I can grant you, no problem. Allah is all powerful. Allah is all powerful. He doesn't need me to ask Him. He wants to build that relationship. Dua is not for Allah. Dua is for me. Dua is for me. Speak to Allah. Finally, before we end, we're going to have lectures here talking about concepts and rahmah and this and these are just abstract concepts. What we've spoken about today is not abstract concepts, it's practical. But when it comes to the night, 101 things are going to come in my ear. bedtime. Tomorrow I'll do it, tomorrow. That tomorrow is never going to come. Or for the youngsters, maybe, I'm going to get up in the middle of the night. And if my parents find out, they'll think I'm some sort of, to yesterday I wasn't, oh, you're religious now. Don't do this to the kids. Don't do this to them. We destroy them with this. Let us grow. 101 things will come as obstruction. Shaitan will come, the self will come, everything will come as a challenge. No, we want that time with Allah. Spend that time. You don't know how to talk to Allah, no problem. Just sit in silence. Just sit there calmly and just say, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi. Something will come. Talk to Allah, is waiting there for us. So, recapping as we do every night as our time finishes. 1, Allah is closer to me. No, Allah is closest to me. More than any human being, more than I am to my own self. 2, Allah is not aloof. Allah even hears the whisper of the heart. 3, Allah is not restricted by any language or any accent or any time. Any time, any place, Allah is waiting to be spoken to. 4, nothing is too big or too small. In fact, if I consider something too small to be spoken to Allah about, I consider that I'm independent in this salt putting in my food. I can do that myself. No, ask Allah even for that. Number 5, dua is not reading. Dua is not lips moving. Dua is not just my hands being like this. Dua is engagement of the heart. No, dua is the scream of the desperate heart. When that heart realizes its need, that is dua. And lastly, yes, we just mentioned dua is to be done any time. But there are priorities in time. Allah is waiting for that intimate time. Night time, when it's most difficult, is the most intimate time where Allah awaits us to speak to Him and build this relationship with Him. One of the people we are most intimate with and we're closest to is our spouses. Wife to husband, husband to wife. Picture this then. An old man and his wife, an old woman, they are sitting for dinner in Kufa. They are sitting together for dinner in Kufa, in the city of Kufa. And someone knocks the door. The man, elderly man, goes to answer the door. The person who's at the door speaks to him, gives him something, and he leaves. The wife, when he comes back to the table, the wife asks him, Habib, who was at the door? This is Habib, the childhood friend of my Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Habib says to his wife, nothing for you to worry about, don't worry about it. He said, oh, Habib, tell me. He is hesitant to tell her who was at the door. He doesn't know how to impart this heartbreaking message, heart-tearing message that has come to them. He said to his wife, don't worry, we'll speak. But Habib, tell me now. I know something is worrying you. Tell me who was it and what did they want? Habib says, it is this messenger has given me a letter. It is a message from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. The letter says, oh my childhood friend Habib, your master is trapped in Karbala now and he could do with your presence here. Not quoting the letter in its full, but that's the gist of it. Habib turns to his wife and says, but you know, we are here in Kufa, it's difficult to get to Karbala. If I leave, who will look after you here? His wife said, what? His wife trembled. The son of Fatima is calling you. And you are worried about me and what will happen to me here? Habib, you sit here, give me your sword and I will ride to Karbala to help the Imam. Habib says, I was testing your response. Of course, I'm going to respond to my Imam. Now that city of Kufa was under guard. No one could get in, no one could get out. It was curfew. Because they knew what was happening at this time. The enemies of Islam knew. So the city was heavily guarded. Habib said to his servant, oh my attendant, you take my horse and go to this place on the border of the city. I will go through alleyway and alleyway. I will reach you there, then we will go together. Or I'll take the horse and go. Getting through these alleyways at this time of curfew was difficult. So Habib was delayed in getting there. He came late. As he's approaching his servant from behind to go to, he hears his servant who has not seen him talking to the horse. Oh, was my master Habib, he has not arrived. Maybe he has been captured, maybe whatever. Maybe he's not coming. But don't cry, O horse. You and I shall not be deprived of this opportunity to serve Imam. If he doesn't turn up, I'm riding you and we'll go to save the Imam or help the Imam. That time in Karbala is there. The weapons are being distributed to companions and to family members. And when the shields and spears and arrows have been distributed to those champion warriors, one set of armor and sword and shield is unattended. So they ask, Yabna Rasulillah, Ya Aba Abdullah, what is that there for? He said, don't worry. My child friend Habib is coming. He was in anticipation of his friend Habib. When Habib arrives, and the children realize that our uncle Habib has come, and they come to him, and the lady Fidda comes to him, saying, my lady Zainab is sending you salam, O Habib. If only Habib you knew what the situation of Zainab is going to be after your martyrdom. Habib, when it came to the battle and when he went forward, remember Habib was from the Asadi clan. Habib ibn Madahir al-Asadi. This tribe was known for its courage and for its valiant work. But this old man was hitting 90 years old, late 80s, or perhaps just past 90. His back bent over. The eldest of the martyrs in Karbala carried his sword and went to the front. But as an Asadi clan member, he could not be defeated in one-on-one combat. And so the enemy charged against him. After the stones and spears, one of the swords hit Habib on his leg. And he fell to the ground. And he was martyred there, and he calls out, Ya Aba Abdullah, I see your grandfather coming to receive me. Ah, Habib, your time is over. Your martyrdom is attained. You are in paradise with the Ahlul Bayt. They came to receive you. Habib, when my master was all alone in Karbala, and he was calling out, Hal min Nasirin Yansuruna, and not one soul stirred. And he rode out into the battlefield. The history tells us he looked right and he looked left in the battlefield. As he charged the enemy ranks, my Imam called out, Amen, Ya Habib. Oh my friend Habib, where are you now? You and I were supposed to fight together and die together. Where are you to help me now? ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون صلوات على محمد وآل محمد